Welcome to Doctoring the Truth, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on healthcare gone wrong. I'm your host, Jenna Tennell, and with me is my delightful co-host, Amanda House. We're two doctors of audiology here to bring you inside real-life cases where once trusted healthcare providers veered off the ethical path into criminal territory. Hello.
Hello, Jenna. She's alive.
I'm alive. Barely.
Barely. You guys, Jenna has been through it this last week. After we recorded last week, my poor friend got so sick.
Yeah. I jinxed it because I was like, oh, I'm all better now, and it's just allergies. And then next thing you know, go to bed, wake up full-blown pneumonia. So
yikes.
Yeah,
Universe said, oh, you're not better. Here you go. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. I'm so sorry you got the pneumonia.
That's all right. I'm taking some time to recoup and
Good.
And read about more interesting things that we get to talk about. And since I'm not mustering up much enthusiasm today, that was my segue into what do we got this week, Amanda?
Hey, you know what? I got this, guys. If y'all know me, I'm a talker, so let's do this. Today we're going to be covering a sad case, which they all are. But before we get into that, Mother's Day is literally right around the corner now, you guys. So if you have not done your shopping yet, you need to, because those mamas out there, they deserve to be hugged and loved and spoiled and all the things. So yes, if you haven't heard, Cozy Earth provided us with a discount code for you guys, whopping 41% off. That is insane. That's crazy. Usually they're, here's 10%. No, 41%. So shop for your mama on CozyEarth.com and use code STAYSUSPICIOUS for 41% off of luxury bamboo sheets. Bamboo bedding is perfect for hot sleepers who are seeking a restful night's sleep. Honestly, who doesn't just want a comfortable sleep? Everyone wants that. This is a perfect gift for everyone. They have sheets, pajamas, etc., etc. Oprah tells you to get these sheets.
Oprah is so right. I just have to interject because I just ordered. I can't wait. I couldn't wait for my kids to get on the bandwagon. So I ordered myself a set of bamboo pajamas, but they are like the cute, like Mary Tyler Moore show, like Dick Van Dyke, like button down with piping, and they look so soft and comfortable. I can't wait.
I can't wait to see them.
41% off.
Get it, queen. So you can be a queen like Jenna in a cozy night's sleep with 41% off. You know what? You and your mama. Spoil your mama, then yourself, okay? All right. That's right. So for today's episode, there are no trigger warnings. I used a gazillion references. They will all be listed in the show notes. And I guess no time like the present. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Dr. Verda Hicks, formerly Dr. Hunter, is an OBGYN who specializes in gynecologic oncology. She has an extensive educational history. She attended medical school at the University of Illinois College of Medicine at Chicago, completed a residency in obstetrics and gynecology at MedStar Union Memorial Hospital, with one of those years spent at MedStar Health Georgetown University Washington Hospital Center in Baltimore. She then completed a 3-year fellowship in gynecologic oncology at Duke University Hospital. She has held state medical licenses in 5 states, with 2 still active in New Jersey and Missouri. She is board certified in obstetrics and gynecology, as well as gynecologic oncology. She has nearly 30 years of full-time experience at private and employed practices in Kansas City. She has held faculty positions at both the University of Kansas and University of Missouri, Kansas City. She closed out her career as Director of Gynecologic Oncology for Healthcare Corporation of America Hospital System in Kansas City, followed by a similar position in Hackensack Meridian Health System in New Jersey. Throughout her extensive career, she has been an active committee board member for American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, ACOG, including the Society of Oncology, SCCP, and American College of Surgeons. She received the ACOG Distinguished Service Award and served as chair of the District 7 and in other leadership roles. Her academic career is filled with professional presentations and publications, with the majority of her work centered on pre-invasive vulvar, vaginal, and cervical disease. Her additional training includes certification of business and medicine from Johns Hopkins University, leadership training at the Cephalo College at UNC School of Medicine, and physician leadership graduate of Mo Costi.
Oh my goodness, overachieve much?
So basically, we've set the scene, right? We are talking about one badass mama woman who was adored by her patients and their families. It was honestly empowering to research her. I'm like, go queen, yes. I can see why patients loved her. I feel like I love her. I don't even know her. Leanne Lance Dillman was one of Dr. Hunter's many patients. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in February of 1994 at only 37 years old. She first had surgery followed by 6 months of chemotherapy, which would include 1 oral pill a day and regular infusions. She fought the hard fight and finally heard the words everyone wants to hear, "You're in remission."
Yay.
Woohoo! Carol Labruzzo was a spunky woman, full of energy and a loving mom to 2 daughters, Vicky and Christina. Described by family as their everything and a tough cookie. She was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 62 in September of 1995. She said to her daughter she would, quote, fight the fight for her girls, end quote, and she became a patient of Dr. Hunter. She fought the hard fight for 5 years, but the cancer unfortunately metastasized into her bones, and the cancer would unfortunately take her life. Family of Pat Rithers noted that they fell in love with Dr. Hunter upon meeting her. They trusted her with her life. Pat was diagnosed with uterine cancer at age 70. She had been healthy and very active her entire life, so the diagnosis came as a shock to the family. Dr. Hunter performed surgery and then prescribed chemotherapy treatments to improve quality of life and hopefully buy her some more time. As Pat began her chemotherapy treatments, she was amazed at how well she felt. She was mentally prepared to feel sick, weak, and sluggish. But she had none of those side effects. She didn't even lose a single hair on her head. 3 weeks into treatment, she still had no side effects. Dr. Hunter had to share the horrible news that the drugs had not worked at all and that the cancer had spread significantly. Her body was beginning to deteriorate, and by May of 2001, her cancer had spread to her colon and liver, and she was wasting away to almost nothing. When she arrived for treatment, there was a sign on the door that the pharmacy was closed and she would need to report to the hospital for treatment. After receiving treatment in the hospital, she began to lose her hair and was very sick. It wasn't only Pat who wasn't experiencing illness or hair loss. And oh, you guys, I forgot to mention another award that Dr. Hunter received. She was given the FBI's 2001 Director's Community Leadership Award for initiating the criminal investigation into a pharmacist charged with diluting chemotherapy drugs for cancer patients.
Oh, man.
So let's really get into it now.
Oh, boy.
Robert Ray Courtney was born on September 15th, 1952 in Hays, Kansas. He graduated from the School of Pharmacy at University of Missouri, Kansas City in 1975. In 1992, he and his first wife divorced and he retained custody of their 2 daughters. As part of their divorce agreement, he paid her a lump sum of $196,000. He promptly began wooing an attractive woman he had known since childhood, who at the time lived in Detroit. When she came to visit him, he offered the keys to his ex-wife's Jaguar and showered her 2 sons with gifts. 2 months into their relationship, he presented her with a 4-carat diamond ring, and she agreed to marry him. Just after
Oh
Christmas
boy.
that year, he talked her into eloping. His second wife, who has agreed to be interviewed, but always the stipulation of not being named, came to regret her decision. She shared that he, quote, wanted her hair, clothes, and nails to be perfect, like a doll on a shelf, end quote. He did
Gross.
not allow her to wear casual attire around the house. He yelled at one of his daughters in public and reportedly slapped her at home. His wife had seen enough and left him less than a week after they got married.
Oh, oh wow.
He annulled the marriage a few months later. And then 2 years later, in 1994, he married his third and much younger wife, Laura Brau. Together they had twins. Laura signed a prenuptial agreement, and the two remain married today. That's just a brief background on his home life, but we're going to swing on back to 1988 when he became the owner of Research Medical Tower Pharmacy in Kansas City. The pharmacy was located within Research Medical Center, which was really convenient to have a pharmacy located directly in the hospital. Robert Courtney's pharmacy had many contractual agreements with providers and clinics within the facility. Dr. Verda Hunter was among many of the providers who developed a working relationship with Robert. He would physically mix all of the compounds that were needed for treatment of Dr. Hunter's patients, which was a huge advantage for her and them because they could readily receive chemotherapy in the building in her infusion center. When patients arrived for infusions, the prescription was sent to the pharmacy where they were hand mixed and walked directly over to the patient, sometimes by the pharmacist himself. Robert Courtney was a very well-respected individual in the Kansas City area. He would often spend time shooting the breeze with families as he walked over their IV drugs. To his fellow pharmacists in the Kansas City area, he was a respected, well-known figure who was active in professional trade groups, but noted to be serious and quiet. He was a pioneer among Kansas City pharmacists that were dealing with cancer drugs. Nurses were anxious to handle chemotherapy drugs. Naturally. And Robert Courtney knew it was a need that he could confidently fill. He was among the first pharmacies in the metropolitan area to mix drug compounds and deliver them to the doctor's office in a ready-to-use form. Daryl Ashley was the senior executive sales representative for Eli Lilly's pharmaceutical company. Daryl specialized in oncology drug therapies for a variety of different cancers. His job was to present clinical information to the doctors regarding the drugs in order to help their patients. Taxol and Gemzar were two of the main drugs that Dr. Hunter used in the treatments for her patients. Taxol and Gemzar are the trade names for medicines mixed in solutions that are given intravenously. They are used mainly for certain types of ovarian, lung, and pancreatic cancers. When Daryl was at RMC and talking with the nursing staff, they reported to him that Dr. Hunter's patients were not seeing the hair loss with the Taxol regimens and no nausea or vomiting with the Gemzar regimen. Daryl thought singly this would be okay because not everyone experiences sickness or hair loss, but the fact that it was a group of people that were not, that was concerning. Chemotherapy drugs kill fast-growing cancer cells, but can also affect healthy cells in the process. The damage to the healthy cells is what causes the side effects of hair loss, nausea, and vomiting. Gemzar works by killing any cells that are dividing, and cancer cells divide rapidly. It can be used alone or as a combination therapy. It's not a cure for cancer, rather it would give people time and good time, hopefully. Gemzar resulted in fewer side effects for patients. However, the fact that there were numerous patients without any of the symptoms, his red flags were raised, and he inquired about where they were getting the drug treatments. He was concerned that patients may not be getting a full dosage of the medication. He asked nursing staff how the patients were reacting to the medications. Had they been on other medications before? How did they react to those? What was it being used alongside with? People should be getting sick and should be losing their hair, not just the thinning of the hair, but losing it. That is the way this particular drug is designed. One nurse commented that to Daryl that he should be so excited because they're using so much of his drugs. While this could seem exciting from a business perspective, Daryl knew that the numbers were not adding up. He learned that they were utilizing the pharmacy within RMC. He requested and received a utilization report to look at how much Gemzar Tower Pharmacy was buying, and it showed that Robert Courtney was buying far less than what he was selling. It looked as though Robert was giving patients a deal and that he was actually losing money. The numbers looked like this. Eli Lilly was selling the drug for $73 to the pharmacy. Robert was selling it to the patients for $63, but we must also remember that he's providing the tubing, the saline, and everything else that goes along with an infusion. This seemed to confirm Daryl's suspicion that he had had really for the past year. Later, when Dr. Hunter was free, she called Daryl and asked what he was discussing with the nursing staff. He told her that it was just speculation at this point, but he had a strong suspicion that the pharmacists might be diluting Gemzar medications given their lack of hair loss and sickness, which are very common side effects. If the drugs are diluted, they're not getting proper treatment of the drug. He also told her that he noticed a discrepancy between the amount of drugs ordered and the amounts being billed. Dr. Hunter took action by ordering tests on medications that were supplied by Robert. She got the test results back that the medication had only 30% potency from what she had ordered. She immediately stopped using Robert Courtney's pharmacy and partnered with another. She subsequently had the nurses in her office begin training on compounding of the drugs to be done in-house. Dr. Hunter knew that she could not stay silent about this, and after consulting with her lawyer, she reported Robert Courtney to the FBI, and on July 27th, an investigation was started. The investigation was named Diluted Trust.
Aptly, I might say.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Before we get more into that, it's time for a chart note.
Chart note.
Ooh, that was nice. Welcome to the chart note segment where we learn about what's happening in medicine and healthcare. All right, I found an article from earlier this month about Tampa General using technology to broaden the scope of viable organ donations, which kind of fitting after our organ talk last week.
Right?
But this is for good. This is good. Doctors at Tampa General Hospital are using advanced technologies to improve organ transplants, leading to better outcomes. The organ oximetra is a device used for organ perfusion, which mimics the body to keep organs alive, like livers, functioning outside of the body for longer. This gives surgeons more time to assess organ viability and prepare patients properly, reducing the need for emergency late-night surgeries. In addition, Paragonix Liver Guard, a temperature-controlled transport device, extends the time that a liver can remain viable during transport, far beyond traditional coolers. By using both technologies, the hospital has increased transplant success rates and set a world record. I don't know why I said world record. I didn't write world record. It might be a world record, but it's certainly a record. With over 700 transplants in 2023 and 889 completed in 2024.
Holy moly.
That's so many.
Like a lot.
That sounds like so many. Tampa General Hospital is ranked number 1 in the U.S. for transplant volume in 2024, performing that record-breaking 889 transplants in a single year. Celebrating the 50th anniversary of its Transplant Institute, TGH now has completed over 14,000 transplants since 1974 and remains the only hospital in West Central Florida offering all 5 adult organ transplants. Key to this success is TGH's use of organ perfusion technology, especially the organ oximetra, which is actually super cute. You guys should Google it. And as mentioned, it keeps donor livers functional outside of the body, enabling longer preservation, better assessment, and even rehabilitation of previously unusable organs. This innovation has contributed to a 33% increase in liver transplants and has made them a global leader in normothermic machine perfusion.
First of all, it seems like you were right about the global. But second of all, thank you so much for, we need to Google this organ perfusion device because it's so cute.
It's cute.
Can you elaborate? What is cute?
It looks like a little...
I can think of a lot of things. But cute?
Well, first of all, I love the color scheme. It's white and orange. It's kind of like this little white box with a little bit of orange detailing on it. I don't know. It just looked like a little cute box that keeps like livers and organs alive. I guess like,
okay.
Cute is subjective. Oh, maybe you guys won't think it's cute.
No, I think, you know what? Let's post on our our socials and see what our listeners think.
Poll, do you think this is cute? I was the person, though, that when we got the skull simulator for the Verifit, I was like, this thing is adorable. It looks like a little robot.
It does look like a little
So if you guys don't know what a skull simulator is, also, you should really look that up because it looks so cute.
I love it. You're such a nerd. I love it.
So anyway, I saw this article and I was like, well, that's kind of fitting. So we just talked about black market organs and body parts. And this is like, yay, people are keeping organs alive longer to save lives.
Yes. No, this is the highly regulated part.
Yeah.
But yes. And that's wonderful, especially since seems like they can take some donations that may not have been viable otherwise.
That's what I was going to say. Fantastic. I thought that was the neat part.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to like go through surgery. It's only you end up finding out it's only going to last you a little bit and then you're back on transplant list.
Right. Well, and let's chip away at those lists because, I mean, that's why the whole international organ, illegal organ market exists is because, if you're rich enough and the list is long enough, you go elsewhere, you go underground. So the more we can do, the better. So good for TGH.
Go TGH. Keep doing what you do. Okay, back to the story. The FBI hoped that this was an error and that it could all be explained away because a pharmacist wouldn't do this to patients, right? Dr. Hunter brought several samples to the FBI, and they were then sent to the National FDA lab in Cincinnati, Ohio. Of the 7 samples, they found that they had only anywhere between 17 and 39% of what the actual drug should have had. None of the samples had the potency that they should have, which meant that no one got even half of the dosage that they were prescribed. Hunter said that several of her patients had died, but that it would be nearly impossible to tell if they had died from the cancer or if they had died sooner and perhaps did not beat the cancer due to the tampered medications. The FBI knew then that they might have a mass murderer on their hands and that they'd need to do whatever possible to stop Robert Courtney. Melissa Osborne, a pharmacist and retired special agent with the FBI, noted that if Robert Courtney would have mixed the drugs the way that they were prescribed, it would have cost around $3,000. The amount of chemotherapy that he actually put in cost around $700, so the profit margin was huge. Investigators believe that he took a base dosage of chemotherapy and split it between 3 prescriptions, then sold them to the oncologist for the same price as a full dose. This wasn't just scamming and trying to make a large profit. This was affecting people's lives. The FBI felt a strong sense of urgency to stop him and knew that he was a danger to public safety, which, thank you. Because in cases that we've covered before, it's like, well, we can't really prove that he's a danger to society. He's just an idiot. It's like, no, this guy's calculated. He knows what he's doing.
I love how they jumped to murder. Like, they didn't mess around. They were like, we see where this is going.
Yeah.
It's not just, good for them.
On August 7th, 2001, 11 days after the start of the investigation, the FBI thought that they had enough evidence with the diluted samples, so they went to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the next steps. They were informed that they didn't have what a judge would call probable cause to get a search warrant or to bring him in because they had no chain of custody for the samples that were brought in. They had to bring in samples that were directly made by him because at this point they couldn't prove that they weren't made by someone else. They needed to show personal responsibility, which I get it, but JFC. Dr. Hunter agreed to participate in a sting operation to expediently prove Robert's tampering with her prescriptions. She sent orders for fictitious patients to him to make chemotherapy IVs for her. He personally took the IV bags to Dr. Hunter's office after completion and handed them to a nurse who then secretly passed them to the FBI agents who were waiting in another room. The IV bags had Robert's initials. The IV bags were then taken from the FBI agents straight to Cincinnati to be tested, and these were the findings. Bag number 1 should have had 300 milligrams of Taxol. It had 83 milligrams, only 28%. Bag number 2 should have had 1,900 milligrams of Gemzar. It had 450 milligrams, only 24%. This order had a value of about $1,021, but with the sample testing at only 24% of the ordered drug, it was worth about $242 for a difference of $780 in this scumbag's pocket. Bag number 3 should have had 2,100 milligrams of Gemzar. It had, drumroll, 0%.
What?
0%.
Whoa.
None. 0.
Oh, he's getting cocky.
0.
Whoa.
There were no chemotherapy agents in the mixture at all. And in this instance, there is nearly an $800 difference between the value of the drug that was ordered and what was provided for treatment, which might as well have been saline. I mean, there was no medication in there. On August 13th, 2001, the FBI obtained a search warrant. Robert Courtney was approached at work by the FBI, who asked him if they could speak with him regarding an investigation of a pharmacist and asked for his help. And he was like, "Oh, of course I will help you." They showed him IV bags and asked if he could tell them who had prepared the bags, to which he answered that he had. He had confessed without confessing. He then heard the words, "Mr. Courtney, you are the pharmacist who is under investigation." He left saying that he wanted an attorney and the pharmacy was shut down. Knowing that he had means to become a flight risk, the FBI filed a 1-count complaint and he was charged with adulteration and misbranding of medications. This would buy them time to build a case for the deaths of the patients. As soon as Dr. Hunter began using a new pharmacy, her patients started to show symptoms of nausea, vomiting, and hair loss. On August,
Oh, wow.
I know, it's so sad. On August 15th, Robert surrendered to authorities and was charged with 1 count of adulterating and misbranding drugs. Investigators reported that before turning himself in, he gave $80,000 in cash and more than 100 doses of Prozac to his wife. Although the government's...
Girl's gonna need it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Although the government's attorney, Gene Porter, did not request that Robert be held without bail, Judge Robert Larson issued a detention order noting that the defendant had more than $10 million in assets and posed a serious risk to fleeing. In Larson's detention order, he wrote, "There is a risk that the defendant may flee to avoid dealing with those who received the altered drugs or their members of their families." Which, yeah, I would be straight pissed.
Mm-hmm. To say, I mean, there's just no words. It's just so horrible.
The pharmacist's success was obvious. According to federal court records, Courtney owns about $8.5 million in stocks, $900,000 worth of realty property, and 2 pharmacies valued at more than $1 million. He drove a Mercedes and owned a mammoth house in the exclusive Tremont Manor enclave situated in the northern reaches of Kansas City. The complaint against Robert alleged 1 criminal count in violation with the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. The maximum penalty is up to 3 years in prison without parole and a $250,000 fine. The news of his arrest sent the Kansas City area into an understandable panic. Many of these patients learned of the scandal on the evening news. Patient Georgia Hayes said that learning that this could have happened to her was worse than the cancer diagnosis itself. She said, quote, "It was like being hit with a bowling ball in the gut," end quote. The FBI urged anyone who had received chemotherapy infusions from him to come forward, setting up a hotline for them to call. Dr. Hunter's patients demanded answers, wanting to know if this happened to them. This was the biggest story in Kansas City in a long, long time. Robert's attorney, Jean Paul Bradshaw, would make a comment to the press that his client would plead not guilty and was cooperating with investigators. Dr. Hunter would also issue a statement to the press through her attorney, Diana Jordison. "We have cooperated with authorities in their investigation in every possible way. However, our sole focus is our patients. We are attempting to contact all of our patients about the situation, and I will meet personally with each of them to answer their questions." Her attorney declined to say if Dr. Hunter was the unnamed physician in the government credited with helping in the case. She simply stated that Dr. Hunter had recently obtained chemotherapy drugs for her patients from Research Tower Pharmacy, but had stopped using the pharmacy, quote, "the minute There was a question raised, end quote. Spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office, Chris Whitley, said, quote, all of us as citizens have the right to expect when we receive medicine from a pharmacy that what we are getting is what the doctor ordered, end quote.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Hayes was a fighter. She became the face of patients harmed by Robert Courtney. She filed the first of more than 500 lawsuits against him in 2002, though hers was the only case that would ever go to court. Georgia received 27 doses of diluted chemotherapy drugs. She missed her chance to beat the cancer. Her daughter Mackenzie tearfully shared that her mother would miss so many milestones. She'd never see her graduate, get married, or have a child. Experts said that she had already missed her optimal window to try and beat the cancer. Faced with a mountain of evidence, Robert himself supplied the FBI with a list of 3 medications that he diluted, as well as a list of 34 affected patients. He claimed to have only started diluting drugs a few months ago. He openly admitted he did it to pay off a $1 million donation to the Northland Cathedral Building Fund. Don't donate money if you don't have the money to donate.
What the
hell? On August 23, 2001, he was indicted on 20 counts of tampering with consumer products and adulterating and misbranding drugs. He was also faced with 300 suits for fraud and wrongful death. Current patients and survivors wanted authorities to pursue murder charges. While the FBI and FDA believed that he was essentially a serial killer, federal prosecutors believed a murder charge would be too difficult to achieve because many of the patients were suffering from late-stage cancer. Additionally, oncology experts told the FBI that there was no way to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the diluted chemotherapy directly contributed to the patients dying. What they did know was that he indeed shortened people's time on Earth, but again, that couldn't be proven in a court of law, unfortunately.
Oh, so frustrating.
On February 26, 2002, a plea agreement was made and Robert Courtney pleaded guilty to 20 federal counts of tampering and adulterating the chemotherapy drugs Taxol and Gemzar. Part of the plea agreement was that he had to disclose everything to the FBI regarding his crimes. They knew that without a plea deal, there was no way they would even get a glimpse of the magnitude of his crimes. He had initially admitted to diluting medications for a small number of patients for several months, so the FBI was expecting, maybe 40 or 50 people, affected. Along with pleading guilty, he also acknowledged that he and his corporation, Courtney Pharmacy Incorporated, had weakened drugs, conspired to traffic and stolen drugs, and caused the filing of false Medicare claims. According to law enforcement estimates and his own confession, from 1992 to 2001, he diluted 98,000 prescriptions from 400 doctors, which were given to 4,200 patients.
4,200 patients?
So many. When the FBI was expecting, maybe 40 or 50. No, 4,200. And who knows, those numbers could be even greater. They just don't know.
Over 9 years.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I know. Ugh. He admitted to diluting 72 kinds of drugs. Besides chemotherapy treatments, he admitted to diluting medications for diabetes and AIDS patients, as well as fertility treatments.
No.
He even admitted to diluting eye drops. He subsequently admitted that he had been diluting drugs his entire career. He was quoted to say, "Whatever I could dilute, I did dilute." Piece of shit. His reasoning to begin diluting the medications were, according to Robert, driven by pressure to pay a $600,000 tax bill and to fulfill that pledge that he had made to his church for $1 million. Again, if you don't have $1 million, don't tell the church you have $1 million.
But also, I don't think the church wants your dirty money.
Yeah, they don't want your blood money.
I mean, exactly. They don't want to be like, oh, you know what? This is so wonderful. We have $1 million, but meanwhile, you've made X amount off of killing people. And
a bunch of people had to die, but yay, we have all this money. No.
Yay. That was what Jesus was all about. Yeah. Woohoo.
No.
I don't think so. Ugh,
Yup.
gross.
He made an F ton of money for himself at the detriment of patients. No one wants that. This was confirmation to the FBI of just how long this puke had been doing this and that this had been going on. FBI personnel referred to it as blood money. Exactly. Patients and families would never know who received half doses or maybe no dosage at all because, of course, he never kept record of what he was diluting. When probed when he started or the last drug he diluted, he couldn't answer. It was just business as usual for Robert Courtney. He was able, though, to answer the question of if he knew of specific patients that he diluted medications for, and the answer was yes, unfortunately. The ones that he could remember were the ones he personally knew. He was doing this to people that he knew.
I don't have words for this monster.
In one interview that I read, he said, yeah, I know that I did this gals because it was my friend's wife. Like, how do you do this?
I mean, how do you get up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and go about your day?
How do you walk these IV bags to the infusion center yourself and say, how you guys doing? Oh, hanging in there. Here's your IV bag that I know I messed with. Like,
and for what?
Monster.
To look good in front of your church and then to, like,
money.
Buy extra properties and cars and...
Yeah, well.
Asshat.
Neato, mosquito, douchebag.
Scumbag.
On December 5th, 2002, Robert Courtney was sentenced for the dilution of thousands of medications. The courtroom was packed with patients and their families who wanted justice. Everyone there had a story, and everyone has a person. They wanted him to suffer and to pay for what he did to innocent people. There was not a dry eye in the room other than Robert Courtney's. He acted as though he was on the outside looking in on something that he found to be mildly interesting. At the age of 50, he was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison, with the earliest possible release date being November of 2027. In handing down a maximum 30-year sentence, U.S. District Court Judge Ortree Smith told Robert, "Your crimes are a shock to the conscience of a nation, the conscience of community, and the conscience of this court." And in a statement before his sentencing, Robert apologized to his victims and his family, saying, quote, "From this moment and for a very long time to come, I will be agonizing over what I have done. My hope is that everyone knows that I apologize and I am sorry. For the rest of my life and any good that I can do, any kindness that I can show, I will do." End quote.
No one wants anything from you, and your sorries are just too late, dude. Seriously.
4,200 people affected. I don't think your sorry is really making any sort of impact, my friend.
30 years is not enough.
No, I know. In the case of Georgia Hayes, Robert Courtney was ordered to pay her $225 million in compensatory damages and $2.2 billion in punitive damages. The judge later reduced the amount to $30.1 million and $300 million, respectively. Georgia said that the verdict wasn't about the money, that it was meant to send a message. In the end, the award was symbolic because he had already agreed to forfeit his assets to the government. Georgia sadly died 5 years following the trial, after her long battle with ovarian cancer. She did live to see her daughter graduate from school, though, but unfortunately, that would be the last important milestone the two shared. Her daughter, Mackenzie, recently shared, quote, "I had a lot of difficulty wrapping my head around how this could happen, how someone could value money over a human life. I remember believing that my mother had been murdered when she was still alive. Courtney's ultimate judgment will come. I'm only asking that what was ordered be carried out in its entirety," end quote. You may be wondering why she recently said that, because it's 2025. It's not 2027. Mm-hmm. So, in July of 2020, he was considered for release 7 years early due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, please.
He was on the list of possible early release. In his request for early release, he cited many health issues.
Oh, shame.
Since being sentenced, he argued that his health had declined, suffering a stroke, 3 heart attacks, and 2 years of internal bleeding, which required blood transfusion.
Oh, I wish they'd given him, like, saline instead of blood.
Well,
Wouldn't that be poetic justice?
here's a kicker.
Jeez.
He also suffered cancer. I don't know what kind of cancer. I don't know if it required treatment, whatever. But
Ooh.
yeah, I hope you got some saline, bud.
Hello, karma.
He shared that he had been a model inmate, turning in those who broke the rules and leading singing in the worship.
Oh, I'm sure you're real popular there.
At the prison chapel.
Snitch.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, snitches get stitches, bro. So, his request for early release was denied. Denied. Had this request been approved, he would have served the remainder of his sentence on house arrest. Federal Judge Ortree Smith, our boy, said when denying his request that his crimes were vastly different than was normally the case for defendants seeking compassionate release. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
He would, however, still be released early, you guys.
No.
Yeah. The First Step Law was enacted, which allows inmates to earn credits through various rehabilitation programs, and these credits can be used to reduce their prison time, allowing nonviolent and elderly criminals early release. He was released to home confinement on August 1st, 2024.
Ugh. Boo.
So not that long ago.
No.
Families were understandably disgusted and outraged to learn of his early release. And some quotes from family included, "How can you deny someone medication that is going to save their life? It is like slowly strangling someone to death. Cancer didn't kill him. Robert Courtney did. Why can't he just serve his time?
Yeah.
We have serial killers that we don't understand. This is what this man is. He did it for money and for greed. Could my life be entirely different if my mom would have been treated with medication by a different pharmacist? Would she still be here today? My daughter was diagnosed with cancer at 22 and was willing to do anything to fight for her life and opted to move forward with treatment. Was she given diluted drugs? Would she still be here today if she had gotten the medications that were ordered? What is the difference between that and going up to her with a gun and shooting her?"
Yeah.
Time has not healed wounds or softened the hatred towards Courtney. I hate him. I know you're supposed to forgive people, but that's not going to happen. He wants to get out because of good behavior. He made the decision to dilute medication. He made the decision out of greed instead of thinking about people's lives. This was from the family of Martha Nix. Their grandmother suffered from bone cancer, which unfortunately made for a slow and painful death. And when her granddaughter Mindy was asked what he should be charged with, she replied, "He should have been charged with murder. When asked why my grandmother died, I always said she was murdered by Robert Courtney." And lastly, but certainly not least, Kat Duncan lost her father to cancer. She says of Courtney, "He should be in a prison cell that is lined with photos of the people of the lives he took."
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I like that one.
I do too.
Oh, those poor families.
I know.
All the what ifs and the...
That's what I think is the hardest. I mean, my sweet, sweet grandmother, who I loved so much and was one of my best friends, unfortunately lost her life to pancreatic cancer. And like knowing how hard that was, but if you had to add the layer of, whoa, was she actually getting the medication she could have? Could I still have my bestie grandma here with me now?
Mm-hmm.
If she would have got, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is just, it's horrible. But Robert Courtney claims that, he's a changed man, guys. So he accepts full responsibility, brand new man. He's remorseful. He says he's no longer a threat to public safety given his elder age. He is now reformed, so the 30 years is just too long, according to him. Missouri Democrat Representative Emanuel Cleaver was a strong supporter of the First Step Act, along with many other representatives in Missouri. He said he would continue to vote yes on the First Step Act, which was signed into law by President Trump in 2018. However, he firmly believes that Robert Courtney should not be in the population of people who should be able to benefit from the First Step Act. He shared in an interview, quote, "I can guarantee that 95% of the people who voted yes for the First Step Act would be with him on this issue," end quote. Emanuel agrees that this is where common sense should come in, that tampering with medication is violence, just as hitting someone with a bat is.
Yeah.
So there is now a push for murder charges against Robert Courtney. The families are trying to push hard. So this might not be the end of his story. We'll have to stay tuned and see if anything else ever comes of this. He is on home confinement, but yeah,
shameless.
he's not in prison.
Wow. Okay, what a case. What a
Yeah.
tragedy, and I can see the conundrum, like, of how to, because we all know that it's attempted manslaughter, if not manslaughter, if you are depriving someone of a potentially life-saving medication, right? So just to not be able to prove whether that could have saved them but didn't, I don't think is the point. I think the point is that he set about with intent to
Yes.
withhold life-saving medication, and that is akin to murder, or at least manslaughter. I had a few notes here. First of all, Dr. Hunter, whose name is Verda Hicks. What a cute name. What a wonderful woman. I had this note here because I remember when, because my mother-in-law, I used to take her to her chemo infusion visits, and she would have to, one of the reasons it took so long is that she would have to check in, because they don't mix the medications until they're there, till the patient is actually there. I don't know if that's because they're so expensive or because they're specially ordered per patient. And I don't even know why I brought that up, but I guess it's extra evil that he was there on site, because they would have had to have, the patients check in, and then he's running down the hall with what they need.
And sometimes personally handing them over. Like, that is so malicious. And that's where, like, that sickening psychopath serial killer comes in for me. I'm like, you just mix that up. And you even did it to people's eye drops. Like, you're a freaking psycho.
Okay, and then I have a special shout out to, was it Daryl Ashley from Eli Lilly?
Yeah.
I mean, here we always talk about big pharma, big bad pharma. He was a senior executive, and he was looking into this. So, I mean, obviously it's in his best interest to make sure that his medications are effective, and then people will want to buy them. But still, like, good for him for looking into it, because they were getting these, like, reviews that people weren't having horrible side effects.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess I didn't picture a senior executive taking that kind of action. So if it weren't for him, along with Dr. Hunter, this wouldn't have come to light for how many more years? I mean, this guy was at it for 9 years.
And also, like Daryl had said in an interview, that was a pretty big deal of him to, like, bring forward such suspicions of a pharmacist. Like, he was like, I'm either going to catch a bad guy here, or I might potentially, like, ruin someone's reputation who's done nothing. Like,
right.
So, good on Daryl.
I had a question. So Dr. Hunter stopped ordering from Tower Pharmacy, or whatever he called himself, Robert called his pharmacy, when the suspicions came out. And then reported, so I assume some time passed between then and when she reported the FBI, and they came to investigate, and they made this plan that she was going to order these fictitious bags. I'm curious why. Maybe it wasn't a long period of time, but wouldn't Robert have noticed he's on the premises that she's all of a sudden not ordering anything from him?
Yeah, I think it was not, like, within a week, like within days. It was not a long time.
Well, they have good fasting. That's good. I was like, yes, he's going to catch on. When you were telling me that, I was like, he would have caught on that she's ordering from somewhere else, and then knowing that he's, doing something wrong, he would have filled the next bags correctly. But
yeah, right. And then, oh my God. And then what if he wouldn't have got caught?
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, this is the thing they say about psychopaths and narcissists. They just think they're smarter than everybody else. So we had that going against him. So good for him for being a dumbass. Eventually. Okay. The first penalty, I was just gonna start screaming about 3 years in prison. That's it. But, then we started racking up all of those other counts. 4,200 people, almost 100,000 prescriptions. Like, at this point, he doesn't even know any other way. Like, is anyone getting proper medication? I doubt it. I don't know. I kind of, there's a lot of angry words on my notebook said, it's big. So, I mean, I think we all know how we feel about this dude. And I really do think they should revisit this. This has got to be at least attempted murder, right?
I know it'll be interesting to see what comes of this because families are very passionately pursuant of murder charges. The tough, crappy thing, though, is what the FBI had said before. That's going to be so hard to prove, unfortunately. But, I mean, the intent and maliciousness are there. That's not a word, but...
So you can't prove that the absence of the medication is what killed them, although it's likely. You could probably come up with a statistical probability, right? But you can prove that he withheld life-saving medication. So just like that, was it a judge? Somebody that said, at the very end you were talking about, who liked the first step but said that he was not a candidate, Emmanuel.
Oh yeah, as a senator representative.
Yeah. Anyway, what he said, it's as violent as hitting someone with a bat. Just because there was no blood, it was an assault on this person. It was depriving someone of life-giving medication. It
resulted in their death, whether that be sooner or what.
Well, I don't even think you have to prove that it resulted in their death. I think that act itself is just like man's attempted murder. You don't have to murder someone to show that, you stabbed them and left them for dead and thought they were going to die. Right? So, I mean, the intent somehow has to be punishable. Anyway, I'm not a lawyer, but...
And the only reason I had put that in there, like the extra information about this First Step Act and like it being signed into law, is because I think it's got some work to be done. Like maybe can we put a clause in there for this? Because like this guy said, this is violent. He is violent. Like, yes, on a piece of paper, he's not meeting the bullet points. And so he almost squeaked out because of that. But like there's some great
it's not there on par with like check fraud or dealing weed or I don't know. People died as a result of 9 years of his activities. Like, how would we think that, even if that's rehabilitative? I mean, he only had 2 more years. And for the families, if anything else, they're getting very little justice as is. It just seems disgusting. You know what, Robert Courtney, I don't care. I honestly do not care if you're a changed man. I don't care. It doesn't matter. What's done is done. And you need to do your time, Like, why should we give a crap?
Yup, you did the crime, you do the time, bud.
That you get to go into your mansion now under house arrest and die of cancer. Listen, I hope they pump you so full of fake drugs. Yeah.
When I was doing research, I was like, oh my God, this asshole already had so much money and he probably still had it invested, blah, 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 blah. And now he's going to get out of prison. He's still going to be living this like luxury life, blah, 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 blah. But then I saw he had to turn all of his assets over.
Oh. Well, and also, is he still married?
Yes.
She stayed with him?
There were some court transcripts of like video calls while he was in jail with her. And I don't know if she's just brainwashed or whatever. And like, Laura, if you ever hear this for whatever reason, I'm not trying to talk shit about you, but I don't know, leave. Well, I guess he's 80 now. She was much younger. So maybe she's flirty, 30 and threading.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome. Thank you for all your research and for bringing up such a compelling case. We'll be sure to update everyone if there's anything else going down.
Going down for real. Let's get murder charges.
Shall we lighten things a little medical mishap?
Always.
Awesome. Well, this one is from listener Gina from Minneapolis. Hey, that's in our neighborhood.
Gina!
It says, "Hi, Jenna and Amanda. First off, I love your pod so much." Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Gina.
You two have a way of raising important issues and insight, as well as are so funny and familiar. I feel like we are long lost friends. Aw, we love you.
Hi, Gina.
You are
we
friends.
Are.
I had to share this story because it's one of my most embarrassing and funniest medical moments. A few years ago, I went in for what was supposed to be a quick cortisone shot for some lower back pain. Nothing dramatic. I was just supposed to change into one of those glamorous hospital gowns and wait for the doctor. I'm nervous by nature, and so when the nurse handed me the gown and said, "Undress from the waist down and put this on," I was trying so hard to act casual that I really wasn't listening anymore. I know that feeling. Oh, I go behind a little curtain, and for some reason, I take everything off, like pants, underwear, bra, socks, everything's gone. Then I tied the gown in the back, but I guess I tied it wrong because it basically framed my entire rear end like a window display.
Oh no, Gina!
Oh, so I'm sitting there on the exam table just bare-butted to the world when the doctor comes in, and he pauses, very politely coughs, and says, actually, we're doing the shot in your lower back, not your lower.
Oh.
I realized then that the gown wasn't even covering the right half of me, and I had mooned the entire staff in the room.
Oh, well, everyone's got a butt, Gina.
Yeah, right. They've seen it all.
We've all seen a butt.
I don't even remember getting dressed after. I think I just blacked out from pure embarrassment. But hey, my back felt great afterwards. Thank you.
Oh, well, good.
Thank you for letting me share my shame with the world. Stay covered and stay suspicious. Gina.
That's so funny, Gina. Thank you for sharing that. I had to laugh because recently I also had a procedure done and the same thing happened to me. The nurse definitely told me what to take off and to leave on. And I was like, I don't remember what she said. But my husband was luckily there with me. I was like, are you sure? Do I keep that on? Do I take this off? So the same thing happens to me. I definitely black out and I'm like, oh shit, what are we doing?
Oh man. Listen, if you're like me, you need to pick me up from time to time. Sometimes more than others, especially at the beginning of the week. I gotta tell you, strongcoffeecompany.com is bringing it. They have revolutionized coffee experience because they use premium instant blends, and then they add health benefits like adaptogens and ashwagandha and theanine and all this stuff that's really hard to pronounce that ensures energy and
all the stuff I couldn't read last week.
But if you had a cup of strong coffee, yeah, you would have been good to go. But what's great is not just the coffee, but the price point, because since they're sponsoring Doctoring the Truth, all you got to do is go to strongcoffeecompany.com and then use our promo code Stay Suspicious, all one word, when you buy, and you get 20% off. So try it today. Go to strongcoffeecompany.com and use promo code Stay Suspicious. That's STAYSUSPICIOUS. We should make a cheer out of that. Stay Suspicious.
I know. I was thinking that sounds like the MICKEY. Jenna.
Yeah. What?
Come in the screen quick and we can send our picture to our listeners. Smile. Oh, hang on. Okay, I tried to make a cute moment, you guys. My dog hopped in my lap for recording and I was like, oh, let's take a picture of all of us. But she's gone.
And also, I got pneumonia face. Like, I don't know. I don't know if today's the day.
You look cute. What are you talking about? You don't even look sick, darling. You look great, but we'll let you go because we know you're sick. But before you go, you have to tell us what can we expect to hear next week.
Okay, so you and I are audiologists, right?
Yeah.
It's a small subset of allied healthcare practitioners.
The smallest.
And it's so small. But guess what I found?
What?
A killer audiologist.
Do tell. Well, I guess you can't right now, but
so I will.
No.
I will tell you next week.
Ah!
It's a murder, and it's one of us. So kind of close to home. But yeah, so that's what you can expect.
Okay, well, I will be looking forward to that. Doozy Magoozy. All right, well, I'll take the ending for you because you're sick. Okay. I got you. Okay, friends, don't miss a bit. Actually, I can't take it. No, I can't talk today. Let me start over. Don't miss a beat. Subscribe or following Doctoring the Truth wherever you enjoy your podcasts for stories that shock, intrigue, and educate. Trust, after all, is a delicate thing. You can text us directly on our website at doctoringthetruth@buzzsprout.com. Email us your own story ideas, medical mishaps, and comments at doctoringthetruth@gmail.com. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at Doctoring the Truth Podcast and Facebook at Doctoring the Truth and TikTok at Doctoring the Truth. And I got a little sidebar TikTok situation, which I always tag Doctor in the Truth, but mine is called Ed Odd Pod. EDAUDPOD. Ed Odd Pod. Don't forget to download, rate, and review so we can be sure to bring you more content next week. Until then, stay safe and stay suspicious. And I'm so sorry I couldn't read today. Okay, bye!